Thank you for that. The best timing ever after lunch, so please don't fall asleep. I make sure of that. So before I start, how many of you are aware of the term OKR? Nice. And how many of you are new to product marketing? One. All right, I'll make sure that you don't have to unlearn stuff, that's a good thing. So I was expecting less people than this, so it's great. It's going to be an intimate session. I work in 1,000 people organization and only 2 use OKRs, so this is good. Right, that's the best. So an OKR session will not be complete if there are not OKRs for the session. So that's what the OKRs look like for the session. We have 35 minutes. The stakeholders are me, you, and the PMA, which gave this platform to us. For those one or two who do not know OKRs, it means objective key results. My objective in the next 35 minutes is to give you an actionable plan to spark innovation in your organization. And there's a reason why in your organization is in parentheses, because you could use the same framework for your life or any other setting. There is a reason why the flower there is dandelion, because dandelion is the most versatile flower in nature, the most resilient flower in nature. And maybe by looking at this or hearing to me, you could be resilient in your own organization as you spark innovation. I have 4 key results for this presentation. The first one is to present a case why you should even think of OKRs and innovation in the same breath. The second is to provide you steps and lessons I have learned in my life, how to use OKRs. Give you 2 actionable case studies, how OKRs were used in my own organization, and inspire at least 3 people. Not still an aspirational goal, but 3 of you to start using OKRs right after this presentation. A little bit about me. I am product marketing at Boomi right now. Boomi is the largest integration platform as a service in the world. We have more than 8,000 customers with major Fortune 500 firms using us. It's part of Dell Technologies for those who don't know. So VMware, Pivotal is the same family. Before that, I was a product manager at HealthCard, backed by Sequoia Capital in India, and as a product manager at Fave, another tech startup backed by Sequoia Capital in Malaysia. You could reach me through these different ways. I'm not that active on Twitter, but if you mention me, I might reply. But LinkedIn and email are the best ways to reach out to me. Now you would ask me that why we did all that agenda thing and came to this session, and why are you even listening to me? That how did I enable myself? How am I equipped to talk about this topic? And my answer to that is I did not read a book. I did not read an article. I did it by building and launching platforms all my life. It started off with HealthCart and Fave. HealthCart is the largest e-commerce platform in India for health and nutrition. Think of it as Amazon Health and GoodRx in the same platform. Fave is the largest on-demand lifestyle platform in Southeast Asia. Think of it as mixture of Groupon, ClassPass, and OpenTable. I was a product manager there. I helped spark innovation and launch these platforms. And after a while, I was like, what next? And that's why I came to Boomi, where I'm enabling enterprises to build platforms themselves. And my 2 major responsibilities there is to go to market with API management and disruptive tech like IoT, edge, and blockchain. Lastly, I could enable myself because of sponsors and mentors throughout my life. So the founders at HealthCart and Fave, implementation managers from Sequoia Capital, I think they really helped me build my frameworks and implement them. My manager sitting here right now, Div Manikim, you can listen to her in the next session. She really equipped me with OKRs, and our CPO. So for some of the VPs and C-level in the audience, we in Boomi report to the Chief Product Officer. Sorry for that. Chief Product Officer and not the Chief Marketing Officer. So that's something to think about. And lastly, John Doerr indirectly. I read his book. I went to a session last year. He has been giving me some indirect influence on how to use OKRs. Those who don't know John Doerr, he is one of the senior partners at Sequoia Capital. And indirectly, I'm also working with a friend of mine who's launching a new age startup in Bangalore called Finbox. So they've been using OKRs as well. So what did I learn by launching platforms at Healthcart, Fave, and Boomi? Because every time I was in the midst of work, I had a deja vu. I was like, why am I doing this? Why is it repeating on and on? I was in India, I was in Southeast Asia, now I'm in Silicon Valley. Same patterns are repeating. And my inference is that innovation is a dirty business. If you're creating slides and writing innovation on top of it, then you're not doing innovation at all. So I'm very happy that you selected this session because the rest will not know this formula. But if you're not doing stuff, you're not doing innovation. And this is what I learned the hard way, is that innovation has a lot of pain in it. So if you're not feeling that pain, maybe look inside and say, are you actually innovating or not? It also entails 3 things, or lack of 3 things. First is, it might be counterintuitive to many in the audience right now, that innovation is not deterministic. It is probabilistic. You cannot predict what's going to happen in the market tomorrow. You cannot predict what's going to happen in your organization tomorrow. You cannot predict what will happen to you tomorrow. Secondly, innovation is devoid of data. If you're building something new, by definition, you will not have data to measure that. So if you're innovating and doing a good job at it, you will lose sight of data very, very soon. And lastly, you will not have resources. Like I ask my manager every time, give me resources. Every time I fall short of them. So think of this, innovation is probabilistic, doesn't have data, and doesn't have resources. Then you might say, then why are we even sitting in this room? I should go upstairs and go to auditorium 2 and 3. If it is so difficult, why even attempt it? Well, you don't have an option. You are product and marketing leaders. That's your job description, innovation. I'll tell you 3 things which you're being asked of right now. The first thing is, what is your growth strategy? Have you had growth already? What is your GTM? Give me your go-to-market strategy plan right now. Isn't it? The second thing being asked of you is, haven't you launched already? Damn it, launch it. Launch it right now. All right, you've launched. Are you agile enough? Did you look at that presentation about agile, or did anything you learned online? Aren't you agile enough? And the last part is, there are many sessions in this conference talking about measuring GTM, product launches. They're asking you, did you measure success? Are you metric driven? Well, like me, all my career, I've been dazed and confused with these terms. Just like you, so you're in the same category as me. And then your next question would be, again, why are you telling me this? This is obvious. Tell me something actionable. So what I'm going to tell you next is, I think you agree with me that innovation is important for you, and you've been asked of these 3 things. And what I ask of you next is to be with me for the next 15-20 minutes. Because OKRs is a new way of thinking which will cut all this jargon. You don't have to go to a session and learn GTM in that session, or no other session will tell you how to measure success. But if you adopt this way of thinking, you will be able to do these 3 things which I'm going to tell you. The first one is, learn scale. That is what we are talking about when we talk about innovation, is how to scale. A problem with 2 parameters, 2 people, is very different when a problem has 200 people or 200 million people or 200 million parameters. Secondly, OKRs will give you the tool to give and drive ownership. There is no GTM strategy on the planet which will work without you. So own that strategy, and OKRs make you do that. Thirdly, and very importantly, get rid of all the politics. Whether you are a 5-people organization, 500 people organization, or 500,000, There will always be people around you. There will always be going to organizational hierarchy. And the more the politics, the less things get done. So if you are with me till now, if you agree your decision to come in this session is making fruit, are we aligned on this? That's what OKRs are for, alignment. So let's move forward. You will ask me, what is that magic wand? Well, there is no magic wand. There is a magic lever, and OKRs give you leverage. By definition, lever means you can lift a heavy object with less resources. I told you before, innovation will not have resources. But OKRs is that lever, is that magic lever which will make you, enable you, lift heavy things and innovate. Without further going into what OKRs are, I need to pay my pilgrimage to people who devised or built these frameworks. And I'll start with Andy Grove. Andy Grove in 1964 was one of the main pioneers who made Intel what Intel is right now. He, at Intel in 1964, devised a system which we call OKRs these days and helped build i3-101, which made Intel what it is right now. In 1974, a person called John Doerr joined Intel under Andy Grove and was mentored by him. Fast forward 30 years or 20 years from there, two lost souls came to John Doerr and asked him, "We have this patent, can you help us scale?" Those two folks were Larry Page and Sergey Brin. So it is not a fact that everyone should use OKRs, but the few firms which are using OKRs are scaling to the limits which we cannot think of. And these are the four tenets which John Doerr is evangelizing all around the world. I think of OKRs as something like machine learning, artificial intelligence. This term keeps on coming every time. For people who don't know, machine learning is pretty old, just like OKRs. Why it's not widely adopted, why there are so many less people in this room right now? Because it's very difficult to implement. It's a multi-dimensional problem, and human beings are not designed to solve multi-dimensional problems. The first one is focus and commit. Second one is align and connect. Third is track for accountability. And fourth is stretch for amazing. What these things mean, I'll go into that in next. Focus and commit. The first and best, or the first step to OKRs. If you're not doing this, you might not do OKRs. Do whatever you're doing right now. Ask yourself, what is your own priority? You will have a laundry list of items you want to do. Write them down. And commit to yourself. If it is not on that sheet, I will not do it. Make draft OKRs. Objectives are the whats. Key results are the hows. Make your draft OKRs and then ask, what are your company's priorities? Ask your manager, ask your manager's manager, ask your C-level, ask your peers, ask anyone around there. Be that water cooler person who asks, what is your priority? This is the first step. If you don't get it, then might as well just leave this room right now. After you have done this, After you've done this, you align and connect. The second step is now start broadcasting your OKRs. Meet with key stakeholders, take vicious notes, requirement gathering. This is the phase when you diverge with your OKRs. This will help you get alignment on objectives first and then KRs. Forget about the hows. Get objective alignment with everyone in your organization. And help in cascading. So what I mean by cascading is if you're working with the CEO, you might align on an objective. It might be the KRs or objective key results for other teams. So be that person to help cascade it, and that is how you will drive alignment across the organization. And lastly, get buy-in. Ask them to commit with you on this sheet, because you've done all this exercise, you've talked around, evangelized. Get buy-in, freeze it, and start executing, because if you're not executing, then no point of making sheets like these. And lastly, as I said, innovation is probabilistic and not deterministic. Be malleable. Don't panic if things change. Go back to the sheet, change things, talk to people again, repeat the cycle as many times as possible. If it was easy, everyone would have been doing this. Third tenet is track for accountability. Time period, super important. Weekly, I don't recommend at all. Has to be at least monthly. We at Boomi do it half yearly. We schedule check-ins with each other, make sure that we are accountable to talk to each other on OKRs. If you don't schedule time, you will not do it, just like anything in your life. Second is KRs need to be measurable. If a key result is not measurable, you're doing it wrong. Actively seek for data. Don't make excuses. You'll be surprised how you can find data everywhere. You'll be just surprised. And lastly, be accountable. Don't rely on a program manager to do this for you. Don't rely on some PMP for doing this for you. Do it yourself. This is your prioritization exercise. This is not a progress report. And lastly, my favorite tenet, stretch for amazing. Take risk. This is what you have been paid for as product marketing leaders. If you are not taking risk in your organization, who else will? Think 10x. Take risk. But also keep in mind, you don't have to break your team. So balance it out. And that's why there's a concept called committed versus aspirational. There has to be a good mix of committed and aspirational OKRs. I'll get to it in a few minutes. All right, too much of theory. Let's get into action. I'll give you two case studies. One is API management, the product I manage at Boomi, and second is disruptive tech. The next case study is going to be about product launch case study. So as you can see, the first objective there, release features on 14 September. The sheet which you're looking here right now is very recent. I just launched a product on 14 September. The biggest launch our company has seen maybe in 3 years. So without going into much depth, let me show you what you're seeing here. I'll start from the left corner top. Write the objective, 10x objective. If you're not clear, leave it blank. At least you and your team will know that you don't have a 10x objective. Look at the owners and stakeholders. Now, if you're launching a product as product marketeers and you're not talking to these teams, then you're doing it wrong. That's why doing the OKR sheet is so important. You will know who the stakeholders are in launching a product. Time frame, super important. As I said, in Boomi, we are doing it half yearly. Tracking progress, yes, that's something which is intuitive. CA means committed and aspirational. Owner and stakeholders is laid off in a sequential manner. So for example, the first key result, confidence in features to be rolled out by 7 July is owned by PM and then engineering and then UX. And then you will ask me this question, we are in a product marketing summit. Why are you showing me a KR which has PM on it? Well, what will you market if you don't have a product? So if you are doing product launch or GTM, you need to be talking to your product managers and engineers and have an OKR sheet and be accountable on that. I'll not go into much detail. I'm available afterwards to discuss as much as possible. I have time to go after as well. Lastly, comments. So as I said, vociferously make notes. This is a second case study about go-to-market and positioning. This is where we were in a problem of launching a product. The product was already made. And the actors here are different. So I was working with the CTO and partner sales here. And I'll go to the third objective there. For example, complete messaging and positioning statements by March 15. It was a committed KR we did. We could put a 0 or 1 to it. It was led by me and supported by partner sales. But by building the OKR sheet, I was making sure that the CTO was doing his job as well. If he doesn't do, what will I do with the go-to-market strategy? Same framework, not rocket science. That's why I'm talking here, to make you realize that this is doable. Which brings me to the last section of this presentation. I think I'm doing good on time. I'll have some questions at the end, or time to ask or answer some questions. So I learned some lessons, and like every good lesson, I learned them the hard way. The first one is, wait for it. Yes. Get a sponsor in your organization to help you roll out OKRs. If you're not doing this, then please do not do OKRs. It's a waste of your time. If you're manager, if you're manager's manager, if you're product manager, if you're CTO, or if you're CEO, find someone who is sponsoring you to adopt OKRs. It is time taking, it is painful, and you need someone to sponsor you. Secondly, less is more. I showed you some examples before. I'm not proud of them because there were too many of these KRs in them. The next set of OKRs I'm building, they are more simple, they are less. And you will get into this problem that the less OKRs you make, the more difficult it is. So challenge yourself. Less is more. Allocate specific time for OKRs. If you're not allocating time, it won't happen. Put time on your calendar. I need to think about OKRs. I need to talk to my PM around OKRs and talk about X person with OKRs. Evangelize and discuss like what I'm doing right now. I'll remind you of the objective. I have objective of 3 people in this room to work with OKRs. That's good enough. Evangelize and discuss. Talk to everyone about them. The next lesson is personalize it. Make it your own. This is your own prioritization exercise. John Doerr cannot tell you what to do. I read his book 2 times. And the examples were not applicable to my own company. What should I do? I personalized it. I went with the tenants and personalized it. And lastly, most importantly, please do not give up. John Doerr says, I'm asking, he pioneered the tenant, so I have to keep referencing him. John Doerr said 3 quarters, give your company 3 quarters. I say, give 4 quarters, give 1 year. 3 quarters is less. No, it won't be possible. Give yourself 1 year. Do not give up. That's why the dandelion was on the first slide about being relentless in the company when driving innovation. So please do not give up while doing OKRs. Which brings me to the end of the section. I'm not going to leave you with empty slides. Please reach out to Product Management Association or Product Marketing Association and ask them for this Google worksheet which I've been working on. It is a ready-to-use Google spreadsheet which you can use. You don't have to wrap your head around some books. If you want to read books, I highly recommend John Doerr's book. Now, as I said, there's a lot of criticism on John Doerr. So you see Felipe Castro there. He's written another book this year. And I'm very sure 2 years from now, somebody will write another book criticizing Felipe Castro. And the cycle will go on. So as I said, personalize it, own it, use the spreadsheet. I live and work in San Francisco. You can reach out to me. I'm there to review your OKRs if you want to. If you're not in San Francisco, you can reach out to me and we can do it online. I'm there to help. It is important for me. It has made me where I am right now. And I hope by doing this session, it makes you or takes you the place where you want to go as well. Thank you. And I have 3 minutes for questions. Thank you for your time. What's the difference between OKRs and KPIs?
Check. I'll get the mic to the next person that asks a question.
So the first thing which you need to know is make draft OKRs. So the KPIs don't talk about the what's. So when you talk about the what's, that's where your brain gets challenged, basically. So you're not progressing, you're not measuring any progress. The second important thing to understand is, be accountable. This is not a progress sheet. KPIs are progress metrics. OKRs are prioritization metrics. This is your own sheet. So a KPI would, like creating a document is not a KPI, but it might be for you because that's what your OKRs are. So I think of OKRs as maybe 3 levels above KPIs in terms of strategic level. that once you start thinking about OKRs, you will solve strategic problems in your life and in your organization, which KPIs might not do in 2 decades. Does that help? Thank you.
Any other questions? Anyone else? Okay. Thank
Sure.
you so
Thank you.
much. Thank you, Raul.